What is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the final admiral that was just introduced in chapter 905 of One Piece. Of course, I'm talking about Ryokugyu. Now, a lot of people were just excited to see his silhouette for the first time since Dofi's speech, and we got even a little closer of a look, I suppose you could say. A lot of people were just excited to see him talking to Fujitora, getting just a glimpse of the kind of character he might turn out to be. It's kind of looking like he has a Kizaru kind of mindset, not exactly, but you know, the kind of lazy idea of what's going on here. But I, like many others, was most interested with what he said about the fact that he has not eaten in 3 years. I think that this pretty much confirms the type of devil fruit he has. I guess it doesn't have to, it could just be a giant troll by Oda, but I am completely on board with the idea that he could very well have eaten a mythical plant Zoan. If you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about and this is your first time hearing something like this, pretty much, I mean, this theory comes from the idea that he said he hasn't eaten in 3 years, so we could assume that he has to be eating in some other way, or at least sustaining himself in some other way. So if he was to be a plant, which falls in line with him being a Zoan, because a lot of people think he will be a Zoan because we now have a Logia and a Paramecia, and a Zoan would fill that void there. And since his name is Ryokugyu, which means green bowl, it's kind of assumed at this point that his devil fruit is going to be related to something green in some kind of way, just like all the admirals before him had their colors related to their devil fruit's abilities and their colors. So pretty much with his devil fruit having to be green and he is most likely going to be a Zoan, well, it is kind of weird because Zoans up until this point have been animals, but it is still a living creature, so it's kind of along the same lines. With all of that being kept in mind, it would make sense that he would be a plant because then he could photosynthesize and he wouldn't have to eat. That is where this whole theory came from with the line he dropped with Fujitora. So these past few days since this chapter came out, I have been researching different mythical plants from mythology and whatnot that could somehow be interesting in the One Piece world, how it could be useful as a devil fruit. I think it is going to be a mythical Zoan because, I don't know, I mean, if he's really just going to be a plant, I don't really see how this guy is going to be Admiral level, so I would imagine it's going to be some kind of plant with ridiculous abilities, right? I think that's the only way to make it even relatively viable, and then he's still probably going to have to be quite creative with it. And I'll tell you what, guys, I've been doing this research, and it really has kind of sucked. I have not found much. I have 3 ideas really as to what it could be, only one of them really being a actual plant. So, you know, I'm just going to give you the 3 things that I came up with that I think would be a decent devil fruit, something that could be very cool. Oda could make it very interesting part of this story. So the first one I've come up with, the one that is actually a mythical plant from Roman mythology, I'm thinking of the lotus tree. I think that this could be a viable one because what it does is pretty much it produces these fruits which if people eat they become extremely drowsy. There's a little bit more to it depending on which myth you're reading. They could like lose their memories of their friends or some bullshit, but I don't really, we kind of already had something like that in Dressrosa with Sugar's devil fruit. That's pretty much the exact same thing. So I just like the idea that maybe he would have some kind of ability to make people pass out around him. I would like to think that it would be kind of similar to Conqueror's Haki, at least my theory on it, where maybe if he is using this ability, it would work something like, I mean, I don't think he's going to be producing fruit that people have to eat because why the hell would they be eating them? I mean, don't get me wrong, Luffy would most certainly eat these things, but besides that, it's not really going to work on anyone. So I would imagine he is able to just turn into his plant form or whatever, maybe his hybrid plant form, and he is able to like dispense some kind of pollen that maybe has this same effect. If people are in this pollen, then they would become extremely drowsy. Like I was saying, I'd like to imagine it's like my idea of Conqueror's Haki, where if you are a more powerful character, you won't really be passed out or anything after experiencing it like we've seen many times. But like I explained in my Conqueror's Haki video, I think that it could still work on stronger opponents. It would just be much less extensive. Like in Dofi versus Luffy, it seemed like Dofi was becoming exhausted from dealing with Luffy's Conqueror's Haki, so maybe he wouldn't completely pass out, but you know, you might become a little bit weaker when you are facing off against Green Bull. I know it's not the most exciting of an idea, but I mean, come on, what am I gonna do here? This is the coolest mythical plant I could find that would be somehow useful in combat, so that's what I came up with for the Lotus Tree. As for my next idea, I thought maybe he could become some kind of world tree. I made an entire video talking about how I think that there is a world tree on Elbaf. I think it is pretty much based on Yggdrasil. But I think that this would be not really like a significant world tree, not one with a name or anything. It would just have some kind of properties of it, where maybe he is able to control all other plants. It seems a little overpowered, but first of all, what exactly would that do? I mean, to what degree of control are we talking here? Can he like make trees get out of the ground and grow legs and start moving? I don't really know. Maybe he could just... Who really does know, right? The coolest thing I could really think of for him is that maybe he would be able to like control the roots of all plants and stuff. That would be extremely effective. I mean, really, that would be like Katakuri and Dofi Awakening on steroids if he's in a forest. Sure, now see, the problem is here, of course, is that this would be very limited to him fighting in an area with a lot of plants and whatnot. If he's fighting on a marine ship, he's not going to be that effective. Now keep in mind though, I actually think that if this was the case, if this was his fruit, that would be very cool, because I am almost certain that his particular Admiral ship would pretty much just be like a rainforest on the water. Like, you think that Nami's oranges on the Thousand Sunny are cool? No, okay, we're talking to the next level. We're talking the entire ship is going to be covered in green. All of the hull is going to be covered in moss. There's just trees, plants, flowers, fruit-bearing trees everywhere. It would be so awesome. I think it would be very cool to see that for the first time. I really think that is a decent possibility. Like, I have speculated he could appear in Wano. If we're just sitting in Wano here and we see this ship coming up that's completely decked out in like a rainforest type of theme, oh man, I would lose my mind. I think that that would be so cool to see. I hope we do see something like that. And my last idea for him is this would not really be a mythical zone, I suppose. I don't even know if it really would be a zone at all because of the nature of it. It might even be a paramecia. But I would like the idea of maybe him being able to turn into any plant in the One Piece world. I think this could be extremely useful, which might be surprising to you because, again, it's like, well, what kind of plant exactly can you turn into that's going to be very powerful? I mean, maybe you could turn into a Venus flytrap, but those things, I mean, come on, like, really, what is that going to do? But what you have to consider is that Usopp has been shown to be able to use his plant-like creatures, which, I mean, these things are extremely powerful. There is a reason he's using them, and they're actually very effective. They've been shown to be very powerful, and I think that if Green Bull was able to turn into those things, he could do a lot of things. I mean, like I said just earlier with the World Tree idea, he would at the very least be able to use like roots to some extent, his maybe vines depending on what he turns into. I think that that would be very cool. And really, I would imagine that Usopp doesn't even have like a fraction of the world's plant, the exotic plants, the ones that could potentially be powerful. I bet Ryokugyu has traveled all around the world. He has seen all the plants that he possibly could, and he knows exactly what he can turn into for any combat situation. We might have thought that Usopp's arsenal of plants is going to be cool, but Oda is going to completely blow us away with just crazy ass plants that he's been storing for this moment, for Ryokugyu to be using in full-on battles. So yeah, those are pretty much my 3 best ideas I could come up with. I know that they're really not that good. I could not find any really mythical plants. The funniest thing that I heard, Mikey actually suggested this to me. He said a beanstalk. A beanstalk would have been really funny. But I mean, again, like, what is that going to do? That could not possibly do anything, so I'm not going to include the beanstalk in. I know that it's not, like, confirmed or anything that Ryokugyu has a plant-based devil fruit, but I think that it's pretty likely at this point. I mean, he could even have, like, a nature Logia or something. What that means exactly, I don't know. But I think this whole photosynthesizing thing is pretty much the key. I think that at the very least has to be confirmed. I mean, what else is he going to be at this point? He is Green Bull. It's going to be green related. He can photosynthesize most likely. I think that he really is almost with 100% certainty going to be a plant. Maybe you guys disagree. Maybe you think that Oda is trolling us. It wouldn't be the first time that something like this has happened. But it's just that I feel like, yes, he could be trolling us, but at the same time, why not use the plant idea? If he clearly is coming up with it by trolling with us, then why not just actually use this idea? Because it's so legendary. It would make Oda the legendary badass that he always is. He always incorporates these really cool ideas. I mean, the main character of One Piece has the rubber fruit, and it is one of the most exciting fruits to see now. I remember when I first heard about One Piece, when I saw it like on Toonami or whatever, I noticed that the main character had this like rubber ability, and I was like, that's so lame, I don't even want to see this, and I didn't actually end up watching One Piece until years down the road, because I thought that some kind of rubber ability is so lame, but Oda makes it absolutely amazing. I think he most certainly could do the same thing with a plant fruit, just show us exactly what he's capable of. So maybe you guys don't want to see the plant fruit, maybe you're 100% convinced. I know that I am pretty much 100% convinced, and I would love to see it. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to leave me a comment letting me know what you thought about this video, if you enjoyed it, if you think that this whole plant delver thing is completely ridiculous. There's no way Oda would ever do anything so stupid, if I'm just dumb for thinking it's a possibility. I hope you guys have an excellent Memorial Day, an excellent rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you on Wednesday.